In an interview earlier this week with Sky Sports, David Haye has once again reiterated his desire to fight Anthony Joshua. I'm paraphrasing here, but he said that in an ideal world, he would like to fight Joshua next. Now, he didn't specifically say whether he'd be ready for a December 10th showdown, but he did say that he'd like to fight him next. And he said, if not, he'd like to fight Tony Bellew because the fans are demanding it and he thinks that would be an easy payday. Now, if he is indeed ready, or if he will be ready for December 10th against Joshua, do I think he deserves it? Hell no, I don't think he deserves to be in the IBF top 15, but he is. And given the fact that Joshua is struggling to find an opponent now, and he is struggling, people. Some people are saying that Joshua is not really struggling and that this is all a manufactured situation just to allow Joshua to fight somebody easy. I think nothing could be further from the truth. Don King turned down the fight on Bermane Stivern's behalf, maybe without Bermane Stivern's knowledge, but still, he turned down the Joshua fight. So Bermane Stivern's out the running. Kubrat Pulev don't want to fight Joshua. That's clear. There's even an interview of Eddie Hearn confronting Kubrat Pulev and saying, why don't you fight Joshua? And Pulev is all like mumbling and stumbling and you don't have nothing to say for himself. So Pulev don't want a Joshua fight. Don King turned it down on Stivern's behalf. Hughie Fury has turned down the Joshua fight several times. And most recently, he said it was because of, the fact he wasn't being offered enough money. That's what Team Fury is saying. The previous times, it was because they claimed that Fury was ill. So that's why he turned down the fight. This time he says it's not enough money. So Hughie Fury's out there running. Then Vladimir Klitschko looks like he wants to go a different route. He wants to take the path of least resistance back to the heavyweight title, fighting Lucas Brown in Germany rather than fighting Anthony Joshua in Manchester on December 10th. And even his mandatory, or his former mandatory, Joseph Parker, he's also choosing the path of least resistance and opting to fight Andy Ruiz rather than take his guaranteed mandatory shot against Anthony Joshua. Now, there's no guarantee that he would have been given Joshua on December 10th. Joshua might have found somebody else, but there is an absolute guarantee that if Joshua didn't sign to fight Joseph Parker by December, he would be stripped of the IBF title. That mandatory shot that Joseph Parker had was 100% guaranteed. He could have just taken, a tune-up in December and then fought Joshua early 2017 by the latest, absolute guaranteed. He himself, his own promoter, Dean Lonergan, came out and said, well, we're choosing to fight Ruiz because it's basically a financial decision. It's the best decision for Joseph Parker right now. Rather than fight Joshua now for less money, we'll fight Ruiz, then we'll be able to fight Joshua for more money down the line. That's what Dean Lonergan, his own promoter, has said. His own promoter is not saying that Joshua has avoided us. No. His own promoter is actually saying that Klitschko's avoided Joshua. But he hasn't said that Joshua's avoided us. So all these people say, acting as though Joshua avoided Joseph Parker, you're way off. Way, way off. Yeah? If Parker's own promoter is saying stuff like that. So, given the fact that all these guys are not available or don't want to fight Anthony Joshua, who is there left in the IBF top 15 for him to fight? You've got the likes of Johan Duopa. You've got Jarrell Miller. You've got Eric Molina. You've got David Price. I'm not sure if Glasgow is healthy at the moment. He probably isn't. So there's limited options there. And of course, you've got David Haye. Out of all those names mentioned, the fans are overwhelmingly going to choose David Haye. Now, a lot of the hardcore fans might say, to hell with David Haye, he don't deserve a shot. And that is very understandable. But most of the casual fans are going to say, we want Haye versus Joshua out of that list. So will that happen? Eddie Hearn, if he is willing to have Joshua fight Klitschko on December 10th, why is he not willing to have Joshua fight David Haye on December 10th? That is a legitimate question that you would have to ask. Is David Haye even ready for December 10th? Or will he be ready for December 10th? If he is, then he needs to come out publicly and say, look, I want to fight December 10th. Don't duck me. Let's do it. Put pressure on Joshua. I have a feeling, though, that Eddie Hearn and Team Joshua do not want the David Haye fight right now. I think they see it as too dangerous from a stylistic point of view. And I'm no, clairvoyant or anything here. I'm just basing this on the fact that in the past, Eddie Hearn has done an interview, a lengthy interview on IFL TV, where he talked about Joshua versus various different people. And it was very clear in that interview that he saw David Haye, from a stylistic point of view, as the most dangerous matchup out there for Anthony Joshua. If you look at the Fury fight. And again, this is not my point of view, people. This is Eddie Hearn's point of view. He saw Fury as a fiddly fight for Joshua, but not particularly dangerous. Maybe he's wrong, but that's the way he sees it. And he's making decisions based on his perception. He perceives Fury to be a fiddly fight for Joshua, but not dangerous. Whereas he perceives David Haye, from a stylistic point of view, to be dangerous because he's fast, because he can punch, because he can move around the ring much faster than Anthony Joshua can. Yeah? The speed gap between Joshua and Fury is far, far less than the speed gap between Joshua and David Haye. David Haye is way faster than Joshua. Yeah, on his feet and whatnot. Explosive movement. So, and with his head movement and all that kind of stuff. So, Team Joshua, especially Eddie Hearn, they don't fancy that fight right now, I think. And if David Haye was to come out and flat out challenge Joshua to face him on December 10th, I think Joshua, Hearn, the whole team, I think they would duck the fight. That's personally what I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they would take it. But I personally think they would duck it. As I say, David Haye don't deserve to be in the IBF top 15. But since he actually is, there's no reason, from a technical point of view, there's no reason why he shouldn't face David Haye on December 10th if Haye wants it, instead of facing Klitschko. Yeah? He was going to be ready for Klitschko for that date. Why not be ready for Haye for that date? Perfectly reasonable, people. Now, as far as the other guys on the list, Jarrell Miller has a promotional situation at the moment, and I'm not sure whether he'll be available. So, I don't know. Maybe somebody could reach out to Jarrell. In fact, I might try and reach out to Jarrell and see. Because he does actually watch some of my videos, strangely enough. He watched my post-fight video that I did for his fight against Fred Cassie. He left some funny comments in that. So I might try to reach out to Jarrell Miller and ask him and see if this promotional situation that he's going through at the moment, which looks a bit sticky, if that will preclude him from fighting Joshua on December 10th. So Miller might not be in the running. Who else have you got there? Eric Molina. He seems like one of the front runners at the moment, to be honest with you. He seems willing to fight. I saw an interview with him on Boxing Beats and Rhymes channel. He said he's ready to go. He'll fight Joshua December 10th. Personally, I don't think that's a particularly great fight. I think Joshua dispatches of Molina without too much trouble. I think from a stylistic point of view, he's almost tailor-made for Anthony Joshua, but we'll see. Then you've got David Price, which I think he's also one of the front runners. Johan Duopa, I think he's kind of the dark horse. I think that's somebody that could give Joshua rounds. He's very tough. He's coming off a good win. I think, personally, that he's more credible than Eric Molina. I think he'd give Joshua more of a run for his money than Molina. So, I don't know. Anyway, you guys let me know what you think in the comment section below. Will Anthony Joshua... first of all, will David Haye even say that he's ready or will be ready to fight Joshua on December 10th? And if he does, will Joshua duck the fight? I think he will. Maybe you guys disagree. Drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me know how you feel. It's your boy, Hatman. I'm out.